Welcome to the Mountain Man Chronicles. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Live, learn, and explore.
So if you're in the market looking for a trailer, I would recommend Mission Overland, but there are a lot of good trailers out there. I'm not telling you what to buy. What I would suggest you do, just from somebody that's bought a number of trailers, is develop your list, right? Your first list of must-haves, nice-to-haves, and really I don't care about. Second list is, okay, what is my price? What am I going to afford? Then the last list is look into what are the criteria you want from a dealer? What are the criteria you want from a manufacturer? Will they stand behind what they build? And are they engaged with the people that buy their products? Do they seem to care about the part of the products? Is there a network of other people that have those products? And then use that framework to help you decide on a trailer. My thoughts are, if you follow that same thing, there's really going to come down to 3 or 4 trailers that you're going to find that are really well. Then you can say, okay, I can use that to meet my criteria. Again, that's how I landed on Mission Overland. I wanted to be able to stand up. I wanted a dealer network that would take care of me. I wanted a good group of people that I could work with. And I wanted something that would rugged, that I could pull through hell and back when I go overlanding. And this thing just recently, it looks clean now, but if you look at this video below where I went through North Dakota, we were literally coming down a hill. The trailer started to slide out. I gunned it a little bit to get it straight. Handled it like a charm. It was caked on with an inch of snow, caked with mud all over the place, and you can see now it's fairly cleaned up, ready for our next trip. I'll be going through doing the bearings here, checking those out really soon. I've already gone through all underneath, no problems at all. I really had, knock on wood or knock on steel, no problems. It's been a great trailer so far. I'm confident if I did, though, my dealer network would take care of me. You'll see here in the front, we've added a trasheroo, which I pick up garbage on the trail, as you saw from my last trip, that we picked up a whole bag full of garbage from around just when I walked through the woods. We added traction boards just for my next trip. I don't know how muddy it's going to be. I may or may not need them. Those actually were a leftover from one of the other trailers that I got that were free. I have 2 spare Rotopax cans coming. They add those to the front because we are going to be traveling through some areas of Montana and Wyoming that I won't be able to get gas as we're following the following the Oregon Trail. There'll be some areas where I go, so I hope to have. I think we're going to carry an extra 15 gallons of gas on that trail because it's going to be pretty far. I'm looking forward to that one. A lot of historic. As those of you who've watched my videos, I like to mix history with overlanding, and this will allow me to do it and tell the story of it. And you'll see on top my 2 solar panels. Again, 200 watts of solar on the trail, which works really well. One of the more unique upgrades I did recently was I put in a remote wireless switch. Instead of running wires all the way to the back where I got to walk to the back every time I want to turn something off, I found a wireless switch that works. It's plugged into my 12 volt here, but allows me to control up to, I think it's 8 devices. To be able to turn them on and off. What that did, for example, is I have like a wireless Go light that's on an extender that I can raise up to 10 feet in the air, that I can move all the way around in a circle, but I can also turn it on and off by this at its source. Another thing it controls is like all my USB ports, which I have on the outside. I have 6 now, so when my wife uses her iPad when we go camping, or I have a light on by the barbecue pit, I can turn those all off via remote switch as well. In the future, I plan on adding like rock lights around the trailer and maybe a couple chase lights, which I can also control by the remote controller, which I could have in the cab of the Jeep if I wanted to. So I can control any kind of the external lights from the Jeep. Really cool accessory. What it did is it allowed me to put lights that are simple to use. You'll see I already added a hole in the floor that's water sealed, so it allows me to control that. Made it really easy to add upgrades where I'm not wiring stuff all over the trailer. Really cool add-on. Works exceptionally well, pretty reasonable on Amazon. I'll include the links below. I'm not affiliated with Amazon or this company. It's just something that I found that works well for me. In the link below, you'll see that I adding the hood blocker or wind blocker in for the stove. Couldn't believe they didn't add that at the time, but I understand with COVID there was some limitations. Really handy feature. You also see, but I put a mesh over because I love coffee, and I couldn't cook my coffee with that. It does works actually really well, but I gotta say, the heater or the stove on this thing is weak at best. I'm actually considering ways to modify that next, even without the grid. It is a weak stove. I have a 10,000 BTU little camping stove that I'm considering bringing because this thing is frankly too weak. But we're going to give it a try, one more attempt, see how it goes, and then I'll kind of figure out what I'm going to do from there. But actually, all in all, does meet well. One of the first upgrades I did to the trailer, actually the very first, was to add solar panels, a DC to DC converter, and shunt. So I actually went with, and I'm sorry about the darkness of the video, doing the best I can here. I went with a Renogy 50 amp DC to DC converter. One of the reasons why I went through with Renogy is because it is DC to DC, 50 amps, and a solar controller. What I like about the Renogy is, one, the mobile app is pretty cool. I can sit in camp and see how my solar is doing. The 50 amp to convert for my Jeep as I'm towing it has just been awesome at charging the batteries and keeping things charged. One of the unique things about the Renogy that I really like, that I found out later, actually after I installed it, is the excess, once the batteries are full from the solar, will go to charge the starter battery, which is my Jeep battery, which I hook up through an Anderson connector. So it keeps the Jeep battery topped off as well. And then once that's full, it shuts off and the solar just it does not power anymore. So absolutely love that, because I could leave on a sunny day with a battery that's in better condition than what I have, which has worked out great so far. No complaints there. I mentioned the Anderson plug. I think that's a necessity for anybody that's going to run one of these trailers or any kind of off-road trailer, so you can charge the batteries from the vehicle. And you just run them in and run the wires. Just make sure you use heavy enough gauge wiring when you're doing that. The other thing I mentioned was a shunt. I did go with the shunt, and I'll add that link before. Shunt also allows me to monitor the batteries and how they're pulling from the battery pack and how everything's working. So far, charging has been working awesome. Now, as a side effect of buying my trailer, one of the things that came with it, I didn't know I was going to get, and I didn't ask for, was a DC to DC, was a AC converter. So I can run power. It is ran inside my trailer. So I do have two 110 power outlets, which I run my CPAP video. And if you want to know how to use CPAP camping, there's a link below that you could use. And then, so that's worked really well. One of the final things, also one of my mistakes when I bought this, a learning lesson we'll call it, I don't call it a mistake, is I did add 100 watts of lithium, or 200 watts of lithium. Works great, love it. But at the time, the heated lithium batteries were, one, way out of my price range because of COVID. They were really expensive. Second thing is they weren't in stock, so I went with two non-heated. What I ended up doing after my first winter in South Dakota is I added heating pads to both of them, so they go all the way around, and I put two heating modules on them that shut off or turn on when it gets, I think it's 38 degrees or 40 degrees, sorry, and then turns off at like 52 degrees. And they worked well on my trip to North Dakota. I left them on at night, everything charged. The battery, the 50 amp Renogy does turn off if the sensors recognize that the batteries are cold. So I have the battery sensors in each battery set up separately so they don't charge. But if they work well, and I haven't had any problems of it charging when they're not warm or they're not working. So far, so good. That's worked really well. And on the roof, I have two solar panels, which I thought was kind of unique how I put them in. Put wafer board below them. And then I put that with two PVC in the front and back that have vents cut in them, and then PVC's on the side, and then the whole solar panel's bolted down. It's all sealed on the trailer with, I forgot the name of the tape, that seals everything down, but it's sealed tight. It's not going anywhere. In fact, I just climbed up there and checked everything. Works really well. Allows the venting. Why I did it that way is it allows venting under the solar panel, a little bit of venting to keep it cool. I've had on previous trailers where the solar panels actually baked from the bottom up for the reflective heat, and they fried out early. These things so far a year in almost, and worked all last summer, have been working this summer. And finally, what I consider one of the more important features of the Mission Overland trails, and again, Mission Overland trailers. And again, I would emphasize to Mission Overland, if you want to add a feature to a trailer that I think for anybody that's going to use it for overlanding or off-road should be a necessity, is get rid of that tongue jack that you have. It is junk, it's weak. If you have to pull or move your trailer around, I was afraid of bending it, and add one of these, and I'll put the link of the name. The name is escaping me. But the link of the name I'll put here in the notifications. And I had this on my Black Series trailer, and I was able to pull my Black Series trailer up a hill with that jack by just lowering it down enough. And that thing weighed 10x with this thing, not quite 10x, but it weighed a lot more than what this thing did. And the jack wheel was unstoppable. I did have to make a reinforcement on the mount for it. But anybody that's Mission Overland trailer that is going to go overlanding, it's not a large investment to buy one. I think this one was like $450 to $500 on Amazon. Worth every penny, especially like in my garage. Now I can wheel it around. I can spin this thing around in a circle in the garage if I wanted to. Rolls really easy. It's solid as anything. Tucks away really nice. I consider that a must-have, and I think that's actually something that Mission Overland had to make a recommendation on. What new thing you should add to the trailer in the future. I think that would be a minimal investment to add and make a big impact to say I'm more serious about overlanding versus the other wheel jockey that you add that is belongs in the wastebasket at best. So a year in ownership, and I think the real question is for anything that I purchase, and any biggest compliment I ask anybody that uses our software for the company I support, the same question is, would you purchase this again? And really that means to me is, did I get my return on my investment in my trailer? Do I feel I'm going to continue to get the return on investment in my trailer for as long as I am able to overland? And the answer to that is absolutely yes for me personally. What I would encourage you to do for you is develop your 3 stages if you're looking for a trailer, and kind of the 3 lists that I started out the video with, and decide what's best for you. If a Mission Overland trailer is, if an OGT trailer is. The best thing is you. Don't let other people influence your decision. And the key thing there is, again, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Go out and explore. Thanks for watching my video. Take care.